Warrior, you're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you. Most of you probably know, I live in New York City. Well, our New York State Governor, Kathy Hochul, has launched a new healthcare initiative to empower sex workers. Yes, Kathy Hochul is giving them healthcare, behavioral care, and dental care. Now, when I saw this story, I thought, in the New York Post, by the way, I thought, more of the normalization of the sexualization of our society. This will be a magnet for prostitutes. Why wouldn't it be? There's a lot of chatter behind the scenes, and there has been for a while now, the last couple of years. Let's make New York City, New York State, the sex tourism capital of the United States. Let's get this bill passed for the full decriminalization of the sex trade. Simply put, and none of this is simple, brothels will be legal, pimps, traffickers, legal, illicit spas. There's more of them floating around New York. Nobody's addressing, nobody's holding accountable of these massage places. Queens has a lot, the Flushing neighborhood. But I'm hearing from my sources all over, we've got the infiltration in College Point. We've got Red Hook, Brooklyn. No one is exempt. It is all over. So I ask, why would a woman, a mother, Kathy Hochul, want this for society? Why would she want to perpetuate harm? We have all the studies, and we don't have time to go through them all right now, that the sex trade is full of harm. It is not freedom. It is not empowerment. Harm. I also commend you to go to you can go to my Twitter, you can go to my Facebook. There's a great story, and I work with her, Melanie Thompson from the Coalition Against Trafficking in Women, who as a teen was sex trafficked and how she got away. First time she got away, they put her in foster care as a 13-year-old. Foster care re-trafficked her. None of this should be shocking to us anymore. None of this should be anything except motivate us to do better. We have a woman governor, which is great, but you think a woman, a mother, would be understanding, would be sympathetic to the plight of those prostituted. Now, let's review a little bit. Under this plan, this new initiative, when I say magnet, pimps, traffickers, they will be bringing all of their prostitutes here. Who wouldn't go where there's health insurance and dental? You know, warriors, how expensive dental is. I don't mean to make light of all of this. And there we go, normalizing, I believe, because there was such a full push that they will, and I don't like to say this, I don't like to put this out there, very soon they will be fully decriminalizing the sex trade. The first state in our country, just a few weeks back, the state of Maine, put into effect the equality model. The equality model is what we want in the United States. It is, if a person wants to get out of the sex trade, they can come on out. We will help them, medical, psychological, all kinds of resources for housing, whether it's education, job training, a holistic approach to get out of that. But the equality model will hold pimps, traffickers, those who cause harm, including the sex buyer, responsible. Now that seems reasonable. It seems reasonable. You have to realize, it's funny because we were at a gathering this past weekend, and the subject of strippers came up, and the man said to me, I'm taking this out of context a little bit, but it was an outdoor party, and a lot of people were dancing. It was nothing salacious at all. A lot of people were dancing on the deck and disco music, a lot of fun. And he knows the work I do. And I tend to think sometimes people will try to throw something at me or try to disarm me. Or I got a lot of questions about the movie Sound of Freedom. And of course, as I digress here, all of you are to please support the movie, see the movie, get your free ticket for the movie, go online, Angel Studios. it opens up the door, the conversation, the discussion, whatever you want to call it, about child sex trafficking. It is not done. It is not done in any kind of poor way. I had somebody say to me today, I want to see it, but I'm afraid. I said, you don't see anything with the children. Things are implied, but you don't actually see. And she said, oh, I didn't know that. So we have to get that word out there as well, that it's very well done. Things are implied. It is a human interest story. It is reality. It is the truth. And children, or any people, should not be for sale. But let's leave that for a second. You know, this man was talking to me about strippers, and I was explaining to him, you have to he says, they do it for the money. They like it. And I explained to him how most of these women, sure, some of them do it. Some of them are married. Some of them are moms. Most of them, from our studies, our research, show there is a man, usually, could be a woman, behind, and there are male strippers too. We got to keep that in mind. There is somebody behind them coercing, forcing. And that, warriors, is a form of human trafficking. We know in countries where the sex trade is legal, including stripping and all that, that upwards of 97% of those caught in the sex trade say they have been forced, coerced. Again, warriors, definition of human trafficking. So that argument doesn't hold where it's legal. Things are better off because they're worse than ever, because it's supply and demand. There's lots of money to be made. There's no accountability. Bring more women in, bring more kids in, bring them all in. We're going to make more money. That is happening, my friends, right here in the United States. I've been warning you. I've been telling you. So for Kathy Hochul, a woman, a mom, to be saying, new program, be a sex worker, get your teeth fixed at the same time. Do you understand how depraved, I know you do if you're watching this thinking is? Does she, when she puts her head on the pillow at night, does she not think about the demand in trafficking is children? The demand, you're 16 years old, you already aged out. Younger and younger and younger, more children will be trafficked. All on her hands, pushing forth, getting her marching orders, getting that checklist, making sure she gets it done. So this is part of this normalization. Get our kids. There is a war on for our children. I talk about it all the time. This is part of habituating them that be a sex worker. You don't need an education. Go online, take your clothes off. It's okay, sex between children and adults. We have to continually raise awareness, educate, fight back. I'm going to keep saying it. We, the people, we have to fight harder. 2024 will be here soon. It's right around the corner. But in the meantime, how can we affect change? We can affect change because you can share this video. You can discuss these talking points. You can go on my Twitter, my Facebook, certainly go on linswarriors.org. Look at what I post there. Get a feel for everything. Protect your children. And that starts with talking to them in 2023 about the realities happening. I worry so much because there are so many kids that don't have parents or caregivers looking after them. I worry so much about those kids put into those youth foster homes. Most that I have dealt with as adults told me they were, not most, actually all of them, were re-victimized and re-trafficked in those homes. Another scam going on. I worry so much. Keep an eye out. I know we can't do everything. You can't. You have your own children, grandchildren to worry about. But if you ever see something, say something. It is our duty, because nobody is really coming to save us. When you have a woman like New York Governor Kathy Hochul blatantly saying I am going to have a healthcare program now for sex workers. Come on into New York State, get your teeth fixed. Do you know something I don't talk about a lot? What goes on in these bodies? How they're used and abused, diseases, every kind of imaginable thing you can think of. Do you know, do have grown men, and this is not an exaggeration, cry to me, law enforcement, cry, I repeat, seeing a child who's been victimized, full of diseases, head to toe, and they don't know when this will ever stop because it's escalating. So good news, Kathy Hochul. Good news, you've empowered the pimps, the traffickers, and the sex buyers with this, because the floodgates opened up during COVID. I know nobody wants to hear that, but they were bringing kids in. They were bringing all kinds of people to be trafficked. They called it concierge trafficking. They were driving them all up and down the New Jersey Turnpike, and nobody stopped it. Nobody was looking during COVID. They're barely ever looking. Now we're in a state of crisis, and everyone's taking advantage, all for that bottom line of making $1 over human dignity. So hug your kids a little tighter, kiss them, be aware of what's happening, start getting involved. If you ever need help, you can always write to me, lynn@lynswarriors.org. We will be having a lot of great new initiatives in the fall. I'm praying for all of our children, and I'm praying for all of you out there with what is happening. But we cannot allow, while we are breathing Americans, to allow the Kathy Hochuls of this country to say it's okay to be a sex worker. It's okay to have literature in the New York City mayor's office that refers to children as sex workers. The mayor's office, there was a human trafficking office a couple of years back. Then Bill de Blasio renamed it Gender Equity. And recently, that office, it's under consideration, but it's very high likely they'll be renaming it again. And you know what, warriors, they're renaming it? It's something like Sex Workers Empowerment Office. I see the writing on the wall. I've been talking about it. Join me. There is something called the equality model to help people, yet hold those who cause harm responsible. Understand your terms. Go to equalitymodelnewyork.org. Read up about this. Equality model. And then think about what you can do. Everybody can do something. If you retweet one of my tweets, share one of my Facebook postings, if you just protect your child, that is a warrior move. Every little bit helps. Be alert, high alert, I dare say. And always, I encourage you, Senator Liz Krueger here in New York, a Democrat, has written a bill, and that bill is called the New Yorkers for the Equality of, I got so upset I forgot the name of the bill. Anyway, something I don't do, but I'm so upset about this Kathy Hochul saying our girls especially are only good enough, our women, to be sex workers. The sex work is dangerous. It's harmful. Men are looking to beat women, hurt women, try horrendous things they're seeing online with all of this escalation and availability of porn that is not just sex, dangerous kinds of things. Girls under 6, girls with braids. Those are categories. And I'm going to leave it. It's a family program, but you need to know the realities of what's happening. It's too much, but I want you to really look at this bill that Senator Liz Krueger has stepped forward. There are a group of us, Democrats, Republicans, independents, that are all fighting this. You just don't hear about us because media doesn't really put a spotlight on any of this. But I will say for the first time, Melanie Thompson in the New York Times, written by Nick Kristof, who's pretty much been a fan of getting the word out about the sex trade and the realities of it last week, did do an article with Melanie Thompson, sex trafficking child survivor, now woman, who openly and honestly will tell you what it's like. There's no glam in any of this. There's no making a lot of money. You're lucky if you get a hamburger and a couch to sleep on. And that's what we think of our women and girls, our people. Oh, it's called Sex Trade Survivors Justice and Equality Act. I just thought of it. Sex Trade Survivors Justice and Equality Act. And how these women in my home state, up in Albany, our state capital, can push and push. We've got this Tiffany Caban, 30 years old, in Queens, wants this. How dare they? How dare they think people are only good for this abusive, outright, horrific behavior that they want legalized? These people are animals. So you know what you have to do. You have to take every ounce, House.gov, Senate.gov, write to these people. They keep records. I don't care. Protect your own children. Look into the schools. Know the books they're reading. Know what they're doing online. Internet's not going away. Before we know it, there will be this explosion of AI, artificial intelligence, AGI, artificial general intelligence. There'll be a lot of good things that come out of it. And there'll be a lot of horror. We've learned that with the internet. So thank you. Thank you for listening to me, listening to these videos. If there were only more hours in the day, I could do more videos. But my goal is education, raising awareness, constantly talking to people, writing to people, helping children, helping families, and helping you. And remember, community creates change. Each and every day, go out and be a warrior.